Hello and welcome to another edition of Video Games to the Max. I'm your host, Sean and Marc. Here with me, as usual, Mr. Mark Morrison.
Howdy.
And well, Mark, it finally happened. Not only were the leaks right, but we got the Switch 2 announcement.
Yeah, ton of
And
info.
yes, with a whole lot of 2-minute and 30-second amount of video of info from Nintendo. We'll talk about that. It was so little info that I was just like, what's the point of doing a special episode just to be on here for like 10 minutes talking about it? And then that's it. I might as well just wait. And they did show one game, what we presume to be Mario Kart 9. So we'll talk about that too. We'll talk about when they're going to next show anything about the Switch 2, which is April 2nd. Also, Sony is not without news in this week as they canceled 2 more of their live service games. So we'll get into that. Some news about how Xbox could have possibly been killed off in 2021 before they even bought Bethesda, and a few other things, along with some games I've been playing, and Mark as well. So we'll get into all that and more right after this.
You are listening to Video Games to the Max.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get on with the housekeeping to get that out of the way here. This is your first time listening or 100th time, we do appreciate you. You can watch us live, usually around this time, the 7 o'clock hour on Mondays. You can watch live on YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook, W2 Network. There, or you can just wait and watch on demand on the YouTube channel or listen on podcasts as well, wherever there are podcasts. And the YouTube and basically comes right after. The podcast comes out a few hours later, but I try to have it come out, except for last week. I'm sorry, that came out like on Thursday morning-ish. Ran into some issues there, but it's there. So aside from that, if you subscribe to the channel, you not only get what we do here with Video Games to the Max, but if you like other things besides video games, we got you covered there. You have anime with the Otaku Cafe folks, and they just had their first episode drop about the winter 2025 season. So if you're watching any of the shows from winter 2025, you can join them in talking about it or enjoying the ones you do like or whatnot. And then also you got the movie stuff with the Routers for Broadcasting people. So anything that has to do with like TV shows, movies, music, mostly on the metal side, and a few other things, they cover that over there. So anytime there's a big movie drop, they pretty much got the review for it the next week. So definitely want to go check that out if you're big into the entertainment stuff. Well, that's pretty much it for the whole housekeeping stuff. Might as well just start out with the kind of biggish, well, not big at this point, but still was big news when it dropped last week. The Switch 2 is pretty much everything the leaks said it was. We got the exact render that if you happen to pay attention to the internet at all, had the exact look with the black with the neon colors. So I have the neon Switch at launch, the one with the blue and red. So do you. And they decided, I guess that's going to be the one SKU. It's just basically they inverted the colors this time. So it's more like the Switch 2 got some edge to it. We got the black with the neon and the blue and the red or pink, whatever the heck color that is, on the inverted on the sides with the actual like controller parts when you take off the joycons.
Yeah, it's like the accents basically.
Essentially, you were right about that. And then the one thing that the leaks did hint at that we did get a shot of in this little 2-minute trailer is the Joy-Cons will be able to use as mice. And you see them kind of pop into the like wrist strap thing that got used I didn't hardly ever use it because I hardly use the Joy-Cons separately. But apparently those you can pop the Joy-Cons into those and you'll be able to use them as mice this time around. The IR sensor has been removed. So that's one thing that will not be around for this version of the Switch. And the screen is much bigger. And you can tell that when they show off the trailer. Also, they showed Mario Kart 9 and they also kind of just show off that the Joy-Cons are bigger as well. The buttons are bigger. Pretty much everything is bigger on the Switch, which was a complaint from, I think, you and many other people. Like the Joy-Con controllers are way too small, regardless of what size your hands are.
I mean, I don't mind the size necessarily. I just mind the orientation of the stupid analog sticks and buttons. And,
well, yeah, but they were a pain to hold, regardless of.
Right.
They weren't nice to hold. They weren't nice to unless you had a small child using them.
Right.
There really wasn't. It wasn't nice to hold on. We did not see anything accessory wise aside from that. So we don't know what the Pro controller is going to look like, anything like that, because they pretty much. This felt like we have to get ahead of this. We have to control this back to what things used to be, where we can tell you when things are going to come out and whatnot. So we're going to put this out so that people stop talking about it, stop giving out leaks for this. And that's it. We won't want any more information out there. So that's what's going to happen. And then on April 2nd, we're going to get more. And that's pretty much it. Aside from showing off Mario Kart 9, which if you look closely, there's 24 spaces available on the track now, which is leading many to think that that's what's going to be the new online space for that. And I forgot to talk about the kickstand is now like the OLED kickstand where you can actually bend it down, which is really annoying. Mine snapped off to the point that I no longer have mine on my original Switch because it was so flimsy that you could literally have that thing just kind of dangling, even if you aren't using it. So yeah, and then you also got to see the way it magnetically connects to the Switch, which was a point of contention for people. I don't know if what did you think of that? There's a lot of people concerned about, oh, my kid's gonna break that, or the Joy-Cons will break this little connector here that goes inside the Switch.
I guess it depends on how small or big that thing is, or if it can once it have if it can somehow be recessed inside the Switch itself to protect it. I mean, it all depends on the actual strength of the connector, and no one knows that yet. So
yeah, it kind of depends. Is it malleable? Can you move it around a little bit so that it's not just a thing that's stuck there and your kid can't put it on the side and just smash it against something? The only thing I could think of is somebody also trying to really hard put the Joy-Con in, but I doubt that that's going to happen much. It just I think obviously it's like you would have with the Switch 1. Just if you're going to give it to your kids, just let it be known that something can happen. They could break the Joy-Con still. It's still the same kind of type of device. So, get ready for that. I think for the most part, it's not going to be the big thing that people are worried about it being. I think it'll be fine. The same kind of thing applies that you probably would have had with Switch 1. Any dangers you have with that system of your kids breaking in or whatever, it's going to be with the same thing with this system. Although it does seem to show that in that little picture where they were really messing around with the joystick, that they seem to have figured out the Joy-Con drift, so you won't have the Joy-Con drift issue this time around with the Switch 2. So that's good. Mario Kart 9 is Mario Kart 9.
No, it's
anything
Mario Kart. No, they're just going to port over Mario Kart Wii
again. So what did you think about this as a whole? Like, did anything surprise you at all? Anything that you're kind of like, okay, that is what it is? Um,
I guess I got two thoughts. My first is I think the thing looks kind of ugly. Like maybe not the console itself, but like the joycons, they're just like very flat, and the whole like, oh, it's it's red and blue on the inside or whatever. It's like that's not.
mhm.
Who cares? Like
Yeah, but I mean, they'll have a gazillion versions of Joy-Cons that you can buy separately,
or
and yeah,
systems, and that's what kind of ticks me off. Is like, yeah, like I have to wait 2 years to find a good looking one, or
yeah.
Uh, and the second thing is like I know you said it last week. This thing ain't coming out in April or summer at all.
I would not be surprised if it still comes out in summer. Uh,
I don't think so because April is going to be like their big tech, uh, tech showcase or tech
and the
event.
games also.
Well,
That
it'll
are
be their games, but I
right.
think like summer around July or August, they're going to go like, oh, here's the full launch lineup of Switch games or Switch 2 games. Everything coming out day one. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, part of the reason why they couldn't out, aside from obviously they want to get ahead of it and control the conversation again, is
oh yeah,
they wanted to allow third parties to be able to. You can now announce that you're making games for the
yeah.
Switch 2, which that's a big deal in itself. Like before, they had to kind of like, oh yeah, there's another system we're making a game for. We can't talk about it, but you kind of know probably what it is.
Right.
Now they can outright go, oh yeah, this is coming to Switch 2, right? So probably by the time we get to April, we'll be able to kind of sort of figure out what some of the third party stuff is, like you said, while we wait for the first party. Do you think for sure Mario Kart 9 is a launch game?
Yeah, because it's the one they showed. I mean, and considering how long theoretically it's been in development, or this is like the one game
Yeah,
that
they didn't have to develop a Mario Kart 8. They ported that over from the Wii U. So they've had that entire generation to make a Mario Kart 9. It's like
yeah,
it's totally conceivable if this is a launch game that they've been developing for a long time now. Randy kept telling me that it's like, oh no way, this is one of those like launch window games, and this is going to be something. I'm like, no, man, this is the one game they showed during this thing. If they're taking that time to make you sit there and wait another 3 months or whatever, to not show you another game running on this system from Nintendo, this is a launch game, and this is
it'll
going
be
to be
that.
the launch game.
It'll be
Yeah.
that and Wave Race Switch 2.
Yeah. They did, give you the little verbiage about this is going to play Switch 1 games, which we already kind of knew, but there's a lot of people that were kind of skeptical that, oh, they're
I
just
mean,
saying that. Go
I'm
ahead.
a little skeptical just because like the actual verbiage was like it'll play most, or like
But that's
the
really
majority.
just anything that uses that IR sensor is not going to work. So like
So,
Labo,
so my Switch flash card will work. Cool
well,
beans for me.
okay, yeah, that's you that wants to use that thing. And most people are using the actual legit games. No, the Lavo's probably not going to work. The at-home circuit thing's probably not going to work. The what should we call it? The Ring Fit probably
Right.
not going to work. That means they'll probably have to come out with a new Ring Fit with a new game. But come on, they're
Yeah.
going to come out with a Ring Fit too. I mean, we know that at some point.
I actually, I actually wouldn't agree with that necessarily. Like,
Well, Ring Fit 1 sold so well, I don't think they would not come out with that.
yeah,
I'm not worried so much about the ones that are not going to work. It's going to be a very small amount. And it's probably not going to be any of the ones that we're like dying to make sure we go play.
right.
So I'm sure that that's fine. It's the thing is that the leaks kind of killed the excitement, which is what Hideki Kamiya kind of came out and was just blasted the leakers and was like they deserved to just live in S.
Right.
for that, which but I don't think Nintendo would have even shown us anything. I think their entire date was we were going to show this thing off in April 2nd after Xenoblade Chronicles X has come out, after Donkey Kong has come out, like after all the games that we told you were already coming out are out, and you're waiting for the next batch of games. Even though now there's a rumor that apparently we're still going to get the last Switch 1 Direct next month to kind of give us those games that are going to be still part of the Switch 1 library before we ever get the Switch 2 like full on announcement that we'll get on April 2nd. I really feel like, damn, that's a long time to wait. I thought that February would have been when they give out everything.
I mean, it might have been, but then they were like, "Screw you guys."
maybe, but it's
I also like the thing itself. Like, is like an all CGI trailer. Like,
that too.
It would have been nice if like an actual one is shown.
Yeah, I really think they didn't actually want to show this at all, and they just put it out there because they didn't want anybody else saying things that are not true and just be like, hey, look, this is the official thing. This is all we're saying. Anybody that says anything else after this, it's
Right.
it's BS, and that's it. What I still think that even though they announced those tour dates that are apparently going from like March to June, I think they're hitting Japan in like June 1st or something. They released the Switch 1 before those completed. The first go around. Also, I'm still holding on to that late June release date because they could show off pretty much everything in April. Even do the pre-orders like that day after the direct is over, and then tell you, okay, June 23rd or whatever, or the late June, maybe July, this is coming out. And it still gives them time to have that entire first wave come, sell out, and then you recoup for the holiday season, which I think is what they want to do. They don't want to run into the problem of this thing sold out for months and months, and holiday season comes and they parents can't buy it for their kids. If you have it come out in October, November, that's it. It's not going to happen, So, and they said supposedly they have a whole big supply chain with 20 million Switches that are ready to go, being made and ready to go be out there in the wild. Obviously don't know how much of that wave they're going to release in that first window, and if they're going to stagger it at all or whatever, but I don't know. It just feels like that's the idea. I don't know that I just don't feel like releasing in October, November helps them at all with that idea. But that's just me. I could be totally wrong. What makes you think it's not coming in like summer at all, aside from just
they want the Christmas or they want the big seasonal buzz?
But you can still have that though.
No, I mean it's not as big.
If you don't launch exactly in that window, it's not as big.
Yeah, why do you think PlayStation launched at that window? Why do you think Xbox launched at that window?
I don't know.
What you should do though is go to the Dallas tour. That's happening like in 3 months, and when they're not looking to steal it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So
They're not gonna.
I got the first Switch too. taking bids right now on eBay.
I'm sure they will have that on their lock and key, like crazy.
And he formed like the Ocean's 11 style team to steal the Switch.
Yeah, I thought about it and I was like, it's gonna be just a better looking Switch. I don't need to spend that money to go see that thing. I'm good.
Right.
We know what it's gonna be. So, but all right. That's the Switch 2. I'm sure there will be more leaked info as weeks go on about, some games that might release and all that kind of stuff. Uh, do you think that for sure 3D Mario is coming on April 2nd? It's gonna get shown off or
I'll say no, but I think it should. Like, I hope it is. Let's say that. But because Odyssey was a long ass time ago, and I know they did that 3D World one, or that kind of port, the Bowser's Fury thing, but like that wasn't like a full Mario game, and even
right?
that was kind of old. So they should be working on one, but who knows?
Yeah, I think for sure that's gonna be the one more thing.
Right.
They'll start off with Mario Kart 9. They'll show off some more things, and then that one more thing will be
I mean, I'm sure they'll
when-
show off. The two things I also expect to show off is like the Zelda up-res or Zelda thing, and then
oh yeah. Yeah.
Metroid Prime 4.
I wouldn't be surprised if Metroid Prime 4 gets shown off in the February direct if that happens. They don't really need to. I mean, they might spend a little bit of time with it just to show us how much better it looks on Switch 2.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know that they need to spend, and I'm sure Pokemon ZA that will be the Pokemon Presents thing. So they won't. I don't know if they will get a whole lot of attention
Yeah.
there. I'm just excited to kind of see what are some of the things that we don't know anything about that get shown off. Like, what are the surprise games? Um,
I
you
think
know,
honestly, the one I wouldn't say it's a surprise, but I think it'll be coming is like Mario Maker 3.
oh, you think so? Yeah, I could see that, especially with the mouse controls.
Yeah. And
Uh,
like I follow like one dude who's like a Mario Maker 2's like streamer, and like that community is fine, but it's still not as good as Mario Maker 1. And like like the reductions they made from 1 to 2 is like really weird. So if they kind of went like all out with 3, it'd be nice.
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of talk about whatever Sakurai's game is. I think you joked about it, but actually more as time goes on, I'm like, could he really be working on a Kid Icarus game? Because man, I just can't see him doing another Smash. Like, and he's getting up there. Like could he do another Smash? Is that the next thing from him, or is he gonna I feel like he's doing something smaller that's not Smash, but maybe I'm wrong. Just that wouldn't be out of the realm, I feel like. Unless he's already done with that and they're just waiting to release it and then he is working on another Smash or something. But yo,
I
man.
think I think it's a problem. It's a problem of like also like Mario Kart 9. Like it always has to be bigger and better, or at least bigger, like
I
more
actually
characters.
think that some of the, because they show the DK looks different, more like um
The movie
the
one.
movie Mario, the movie DK. Like I
Yeah.
wonder, it makes me think that like I wonder if they're just kind of going back to basics also. Like it's just like, okay, this is just Mario Kart with more racers, some other cool things that we've added over the years, but it's not gonna have a gimmick like 8 did.
Right.
And then they can kind of add that on because this is going to be the Mario Kart for the entire generation. So, you don't need to just be fancy and add and have it be like all that. They can add tracks and add things as it
Right.
goes on. I could see Smash doing the same thing because, man, as much as I'd love for it to be ultimate plus more, I just think that they're not gonna do that again. Like I don't know that they're gonna be able to
I
bring in all those people again, all those
They'll
characters.
have like
You know,
the old 8 Smash or the old 12 Smash Brothers characters from like the N64 one,
yeah.
and then have like 40 Fire Emblem characters. That'll be
Yes.
it.
Yeah, what yeah. Talk about like, man, y'all really went, Sakurai said he loves his Fire Emblem characters, so why not? Yeah, but I mean, look, there's a lot of time from here to now for them to reveal things and announce games and stuff like that. So we'll get more as the weeks kind of go on. But let's move on here to Sony. This was not expected, even though there's also been hints by Nate the Hate as well that Sony is also going to have their own like state of play or whatever in February. But their news is that they have now canceled 2 more live service games. And one of them was a big one. Bluepoint was apparently working on a God of War live service game. And then Sony Bend was, we've known they were working on a live service game for a while. We just never knew what it actually was. And that one has been canceled now. So essentially, Bluepoint and Sony Bend might as well get ready for PlayStation 6 because by the time they come out with a game, we won't be talking about PlayStation 5 anymore.
Right.
But what did you think about when you heard this? Like, just them deciding to, like, out of the blue, cancel it?
I'm pretty neutral on the Sony Bend Studios one. They're the Days Gone guys, I think. So it's
Exactly,
whatever.
yes.
It is a profound mistake for Bluepoint to be doing that God of War thing for 2 reasons. One is they're the ones who should be working on the Bloodborne remake. Like, if not that, then something extremely in that vein. Have them make a new one, or whatever. It doesn't have to be Bloodborne. Just a new game exactly like that. They can do it. They did it with Legend of Dragoon way back in the day.
Yeah, interesting also that, like, kind of funny had a, sorry.
Hell, have them do a Legend of Dragoon remake. Screw it.
Oh, I don't think they would. Would that sell enough for them to really justify doing that? I mean, it'd be awesome if they did. Trust me. But
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, what did Kind of Funny do?
Yeah, Kind of Funny had a big interview with Shuhei Yoshida. Basically his first interview after leaving Sony.
Right.
And in it, he talked about like why he thinks they haven't done anything with Bloodborne. And he says that pretty much that's Miyazaki's baby, and that if anybody's going to do anything with it, it's basically like he hasn't had time. That if there's a remaster, if there's a remake, if there's a sequel, he wants to do it. And that's his idea about why.
They're fucking around, with whatever, this Elden Ring thing or a bunch of other crap. So it's like, either you do it or we're going to do it. That's it.
Well, I mean, to be fair, he can't work on Elden Ring and that at the same time it's big. But now that they're not working on Elden Ring, maybe they are now.
And the second point I would make is they already tried it. I mean, it wasn't live service, but they already tried to make a multiplayer multiplayer God of War. It sucked ass.
God of War Ascension, yeah.
So it's like, what? You're gonna try this failed idea again? Like, how is this gonna be different? Or like what I even compared to like, I could see like how a Horizon Zero Dawn like live service thing would work. I don't think it's a good idea. I could see how it work. Or even like not Left 4 Dead, Last of Us. But like God of War, especially like this version of God of War, like what is it?
Yeah, and then also the worst part is the worst part is that they didn't tell them ahead of time at all. They didn't find out anything until when everybody else found out.
Yeah,
which is kind of shitty. Like,
it's like, what is this God of War thing? Would it just be like 24 Kratos just throwing their axes at each other?
Yeah, that's what's weird is that like a lot of this stuff, it just doesn't. Why are we even working on a God of War live service game? Like, was this really Jim Ryan and Herman Holtz just being like, Okay, every single franchise that we have that has any cachet needs to have a live service multiplayer component.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, the Naughty Dog one actually worked the first time. Why would you not have tried to put that out and see if it at least lasted for 6 months or
Right.
more? Like, give it a shot.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand why we just canned it. I understand partially why. Neil Druckmann didn't want to be working on that, and he didn't want to allocate resources to the studio to that.
Right.
I'm sure that would have affected the um, Lost Prophet game, whatever, getting made.
Yeah.
So I get that. I get that in a way, right? But still, like that game probably would have been fine. And there's a history of that being multiplayer and people actually liking it. Like you said, God of War is multiplayer. It's like nobody wanted that. Who said let's make that? Like who's allocating time to doing this? And then you got Horizon sort of makes sense. You can do multiplayer with that. Which seems to be the only like sort of one that we know about that has any kind of a big name attached to it still standing. The
Yeah.
other ones are Fair Games, which that's from that Haven studio, which we don't know if that's going to be any good. And it still has the reeks of there's a million extraction shooters. What's going to make this one better than the rest of them?
Right.
You got that Gummy Bears thing from Destiny, the Destiny people. That seems like they're trying to ape Fortnite, and that's I don't know. We'll see how
They
that
should just
goes.
they should just bring back Fat Princess.
Yeah, you got Marathon, which that's a known quantity, but it's also
That sounds like a disaster right
the
now.
Destiny people, so we don't know where that's going. But
Right.
the Twisted Metal thing gone, the Deviation Games thing gone, the London studio gone, and the studio's gone. The
Right.
Spider-Man one, which that one could have been decent.
Again, though, like I
Gone.
saw, like that's another one I don't really see how you do like a big online multiplayer Spider-Man game. You're gonna have like 800,000 Spider-Man swinging around the city, or
Yeah. Helldivers 2 is still going and Concord gone.
right.
So, but okay, so like I never played it. How did that Ghost of Tsushima multiplayer thing work?
It was like four. It was like teams of four. You weren't like fate. I don't. The one time I tried it, really, it was like me, Jens, and two other people were like doing a mission together. I think it was like hold the line or hold the point or whatever, and we're just
Yeah,
like facing off against enemies that were like swarming us. It was fine, but
right.
that I wouldn't even consider that like live service because live service has such a different connotation nowadays.
Yeah.
It was just like here's a multiplayer part, and like if they just wanted to do that with some of these games, like I guess that would work. Like I actually didn't mind Uncharted 4 as like multiplayer, like the deathmatch or team deathmatch thing they did, but like them going like, oh, it has to be live service. So that means season pass. That means like, oh, you gotta like, we want players to be playing this forever. It's like that ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, you got to
Like,
constantly putting out content, which means you're, driving the developers up
right,
a wall with this stuff constantly. We're not getting enough engagement this week, so we got to figure out something. You got to have
yeah,
monetization. You got to have all this stuff. It
right,
it's not gonna. It just I don't see how any other than the Horizon one. I don't see how any of these things are gonna last. And I understand like the Fair Games one apparently is way too far in development where they can just cancel that. So
yeah,
that's probably why that's still going, right? And then obviously Horizon is Herman Hulse, like that's his baby, that's his studio he comes from. So obviously that's not getting canceled.
yeah.
But
The one that, yeah,
it's just like they apparently did a review and decided that they needed to cancel these. And it's just like, listen, between Herman Hulse and Jim Ryan, apparently this was like their whole deal, right? The whole like let's do 1 million live service games, and it's like
Right.
this is shown to be such egg on their faces. I still don't understand how Herman Hulse is the co-CEO if everything he's done aside. Look, I get it. Okay, they also, you know, they're also the ones that decided on Astrobot. They're also the ones that decided on some of the other decisions that have come out since then. So you got to give them their props when they do make good decisions. But it's just like, man, so much of their decision to go forward with these live service games has really become a thorn in their side, and it's become a problem for Sony entirely because these are your main studios that are now not doing anything for the rest of this generation.
We already got Microsoft to do that, so.
Well, no, that's the problem, right? Exactly. Microsoft's just gonna supply you with all the games that you couldn't put out, but it's like it's interesting the dichotomy that you have now, where Microsoft potentially could have anywhere from 5 to 6 games come out in this 1 year, to Sony has nothing aside from whenever Fair Games is supposed to come out, and that's it. Like, what do they even have in the pipeline? They're like, that's Sony first party. I mean, I get it. They're the main console. They have all the third party support in the world. They'll be fine that way. But I'm just saying.
The one thing I can think of that presumably is still, I would say, fairly along is Wolverine.
Yeah. Like, how much did that hack hurt them, you know, and having that bad playable build out there and like them having to go back into the. Like, are we going to hear about that game at all this year? Like, that's the.
I think it's interesting that the director like left for Microsoft, or like left for Rare.
Yeah, that too. But yeah, it's just like there are so many questions now from Sony of just where do you go from here? Are you just basically telling them go back to making what you know how to do? Does this mean that we're going to get Days Gone 2 now? After you know they decided to kill that, it's
the same problem that Rocksteady went through. It's like, why would you tell a developer who is specifically known for making one type of great quality game, hey, do something completely different? That's a huge gamble that you're somewhat unfamiliar with, and let's hope it works. And then it doesn't, and then everyone blames Rocksteady, and it's like, well, I mean, I guess I partially blame them. They could have said no better, maybe, but like, they're not the ones ultimately who can say no.
Yeah, I mean, Warner Bros. Was in the same kind of push too, of like they wanted everything to be live service, and that killed that. You know, got thrown into their face as well. Of like, this does not work. People don't want this.
Did you see how Justice League ended?
No, I didn't.
It was great. So they basically just had comic book panels like for the ending video.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't, make anything new. And the basic story was like, oh, everyone who died in the game, like all the heroes who died, they were all clones. Except for Wonder Woman, she actually died. And it's like, what? Like, huh?
Okay.
Like, oh, yeah, Batman. He made these clones of all of us, and they're the ones who got taken over by Brainiac, and yep, they're the ones who died. It's like,
yeah, man.
All right, cool.
It's like, all right, this is what we're doing here. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, okay, we got there's apparently at least one more speed run level. Don't know if it's gonna be another set of speed run levels that Astaroth's gonna have now.
Yeah.
But okay, Astrobot's doing fine. Right? Like
right.
They can keep making Astrobot forever, essentially, and they'll be fine. Like, okay, we know Sucker Punch is doing Ghost of Yotei. That's coming. We know we get the next MLB The Show. and Death Stranding 2 on the beach, which that's the second party, right? And
Right.
then that's it, aside from whenever the heck Intergalactic is going to come out.
All right.
And then Wolverine, like you said. Everything else got canceled, or it's a live service, or and we don't know when that's coming. No idea what this Convaleria game is supposed to be, but still, like, it's really just Sony is very fortunate that they have they are the number one console, and they have all these deals for the exclusives on third party, or they have second party games like Celebrate and Rise of Ronin that kind of got you through, right?
Yeah.
And that's basically what it almost feels like this is what this generation is going to be for them now, since the live service games are not going to do well, and the ones that are still around probably are not gonna. I don't want to disparage anything with Fair Games or the Horizon one or whatever. I want those devs to still be doing well and those people to have jobs, but it's just like, again, like, the one success of Helldivers 2 doesn't mean that they needed 12 of those. And
Right.
at least Sony is understanding that, and they're not just putting them out there to die, but it just sucks you wasted your studio's time doing these games that ultimately no one wanted.
Yeah.
Um,
Where's the Tokyo Jungle live service game?
That says a lot. I think we didn't get to that point, right?
Yeah.
But hey, at least we know one game that's still happening, right? Hollow Knight Silksong is happening, Mark. It's real. It will release, according to Matthew Griffin, who handles their PR. He says that even though they don't have a lot to talk about,
it'll like in the grand continuum of time, I'm sure it'll release. But within our lifetimes, that's still kind of an open question. Or, before the Earth explodes and the sun expands, like, will it release by then? Maybe.
Apparently they had planned to release in the first half of 2023, but development is still continuing.
Well, they only blew that by 2 years.
They're just trying to make the game as good as they can. Okay, that's cool, whatever. It's just like, I guess it's great that somebody said something, but wow, it feels like they just been radio silent on that game.
I mean, that's like, trying to make the game as good as you can is a noble endeavor, but at a certain point, you got to put the game out.
Right.
Like, that's what kind of killed like Duke Nukem Forever. Like, when that game, 3 years into that game's launch, if they released it then, if they finished it and released it, it would have been fine. But then taking 10 more years, and becoming increasingly like antiquated and outside of the norm, like, okay, who cares?
Yeah, it still bothers me that it's like, I don't know, you couldn't put out anything? Like, you couldn't have put out something telling people that game's fine or whatever? It's weird
I mean, it's telling that Ori and the Blind Forest, like, that came out in 2015. That was 2 years before Hollow Knight. And Ori and the Blind Forest made a sequel.
Yes.
And it was damn good. Like,
yes, it was.
Like 5 years later, like, which is like, I would say is an acceptable, like, if they're really like breaking everything down and making whole new assets and everything, like, that's an acceptable time, I guess, for like a sequel.
Right.
But it's been 8 years now for Hollow Knight.
It just feels like every time we've had a big event, it's like people are like, okay, this is the time, right? Silksong is going to get announced, and then nothing.
Yeah.
It's like, but hey, at least it says something. But it is what it is. Just wanted to mention. Go ahead.
It'll eventually be out.
Yeah, it eventually, at some point in our lifetimes, he said, or maybe not. Just really quick, wanted to mention at least some good things on Sony's end. They did donate to the wildfire relief. I'm sorry. for the wildfires that have sadly killed 25 people and displaced so many people and destroyed over like 12,000 structures, including so many homes. Heart goes out to all those people that are struggling with that. That absolutely sucks. But at least PlayStation having all these LA studios, Naughty Dog, Insomniacs, Santa Monica, they all donated a bunch of money for that. So that's good on Sony's end. Yep. And also really quick, they did announce the PS Plus Extra and Premium games, which I think you can actually go download now. God of War Ragnarok is on there, so if you haven't played that yet, and you did play the first one, I guess you can go play that for free on PS Plus. Like a Dragon Gaiden, the Man Who Erased His Name, which was the prequel game that came out before Infinite Wealth. So if you wanted to know what is going on with Kiryu before we get to Infinite Wealth, they haven't played either game, go check that out. It's pretty short actually, and it's pretty good. Yeah. Atlas Fallen, Rain in the Sand. It's pretty decent from all I've heard. Sinai Wild Hearts is actually really good. I would go check that out if I were y'all that like those kind of games. Citizen Sleeper is also another great indie game. Mutinatum, whatever. Also out there. And also the last, if you have premium, the last decent Indiana Jones game, Indiana Jones and the Staff of Kings, is out there if you have, either PS4 or PS5. I have the Medieval 2 also out there on the premium side. So pretty good month actually. If you haven't played some of these to go check out. But that's it on the Sony side of things. Let's move on to talking about Xbox here. We're going to go back in the past with Xbox for a little bit. A report came out from a weird site that people are saying it has credence. So this is not like something made up, but it's like we never really heard about this website called The Information. Yeah. That Satya and Nadella, before they bought Microsoft bought Bethesda, had the opportunity to absolutely just kill off Xbox entirely in 2021.
Right.
Which was weird because that was the year that Xbox did really well. They had Forza Horizon 5, they had Halo Infinite before you got the crap with the multiplayer doesn't have a lot of length and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it has some decent games like in the lead up as well to those two. It would have been kind of weird to see it go out on a high note, I guess, that way, instead of seeing what you could do from there. But we know what happened after that. They decided to go the other route of, that was the option. He was either kill off Xbox or go the route of buying publishers to increase the chance of people, subscribing to Game Pass. They went with the idea of buying publishers, which we know they bought Bethesda that year. Then they went and did the whole Activision Blizzard King thing 2 years later. And then obviously that has kind of started to backfire a little bit on them because they still haven't. They go up in record for Game Pass, but we don't know the number. And probably most likely a lot of those people canceled after they got their fill of Call of Duty. So they're not sticking around.
Yeah, play for a month or two, and then all right, I'll resubscribe once another game comes out.
And then also the idea was that they also were supposed to get 100 million subscribers. That was part of the deal of keeping Xbox around, and they had till 2030 to do it. Their strategy was buy these publishers, get people to subscribe to Game Pass, and then also get other developers and publishers to see that and go, now I want to be in Game Pass too. And in fact, it actually has gone backwards. You have less people wanting to go into Game Pass. Microsoft is offering less money for games that go into Game Pass because they have their own games now to put into Game Pass. So why would I go and give a third party a bunch of money to go be in this thing that's costing us so much money every year? I mean, it's also ironic that like this could be their best year ever as far as output goes, and then
I mean, they made one good game.
well, this year coming that hasn't.
Oh, okay. Sorry, you
Okay,
meant like
yeah,
this.
yeah, not
Well, they got
last year.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, not. But it's just it's like this is why they have now gone the route of giving games to PlayStation and giving games to presumably Switch to, because that's the only way they're able to stay afloat at this point. Now, obviously, I guess again this year, notwithstanding, with all these games that they have in the pipeline, they could also release this year. But it's like, okay, that's why you have the rumor of Halo and Gears and all that stuff coming, because they need all that capital and that income to show that this Xbox team is not just using enough resources to make games that will then not translate to Game Pass subscribers. So,
Right.
do you think now looking back on it, now that we've had these 3 or 4 years of this, obviously it took them 2 years to finally get the Activision Blizzard stuff. Another part of that was also that one of the investors talked about basically Activision Blizzard has been disappointing, that it wasn't worth the money. Do you think that they went down the wrong path of buying the publishers and trying to put everything to Game Pass, or did they not just have, they just didn't have any options?
I think they should have had better options, or like I think the Activision Blizzard King is kind of it's still like a boondoggle because say you want about Ubisoft or Square or whatever, they put out typically 3 or 4 games a year.
Right.
Activision puts out 1 game a year. Realistically, I mean, they might have had like the Crash Bandicoot trilogy the 1 year, or like Tony Hawk 1 and 2 the other year, but like they only put out Call of Duty. And
Yeah, it's
Blizzard,
absolutely.
is a mess. Is like a huge mess right now. I don't. King doesn't really enter into the conversation for me because I don't know that space and I don't care.
Until they
But
get their mobile store going, King is basically just there giving them money with
right,
people buying those games, spending money on those games that they were doing
but
before Microsoft bought
but
them.
like yeah, like like realistically, like okay, let's say Game Pass spikes like the month Call of Duty comes out. It's like okay, but what happens the next month or the month after that? Really,
Mhm.
like how much does it go down? Like for the amount of money Microsoft bought Activision for, they should have bought honestly like Ubisoft and Sega, or Ubisoft and Square, or Square and Sega, or I mean I don't think Square ever sold to them necessarily, but I meant like that's the type of more option or like the more forward thinking option they should have done, is
Right.
buy a developer and a publisher that can put out games. Mm-hmm.
I agree. I totally agree with
Game,
that. Yeah.
games plural, not game. They can.
I
I mean,
totally agree with
Activision.
that. I think their idea was, okay, we're going to get Call of Duty, which that means we get a lot of revenue, we get a lot of money. People will come to Game Pass for that. I definitely they probably thought that they could get things going with that division with the Blizzard side of things. The problem is that all these franchises are not, WoW is on
WoW is
however many.
literally. They just had their
Yeah,
20th anniversary, so that's a 20-year-old game. Uh,
yeah.
you're not gonna get new players to WoW. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
just another revenue source that's not gonna get more people in the door to play in that game.
like I
Yeah,
said, I mean, I know that, it'll be very bad if this happens, or it'll show like real desperation. But once they say, "Hey, subscribe to Game Pass, you get WoW for free," or we're combining the WoW subscription fee and Game Pass, like that is a bad sign. But you got to get people to play WoW again.
do you like? I've seen a lot of I've seen a lot of it online, and I look at it and go, it's a great idea in theory, but it's like, can you go? Do you think they could go backwards at this point? Could they just kill Game Pass and just say, okay, we're going back to the model that everybody else has. You have to buy our games, and that's it. Do you think that could help them at all? Or do you think that basically they might as well just that's it? We're just a third party publisher now. If they killed Game Pass,
If I think that the problem is if they tried that, too many people like you would revolt and would never buy another Microsoft game again.
I mean, I still buy their games now, so that doesn't. I would hate it because that's then another thing on top of that we're going to talk about in a little bit of another cost of games, of like another slew of games that are now on the pile of, man, okay, another slew of things that I have to go, man, okay, which ones do I really want? Because I no longer have the ability to go, okay, I'm going to play all these games in Game Pass, so I don't need to, think about buying them off the bat or whatever if I want to talk about them for the podcast or write about them or whatever. I think they can go backwards as far as like, will people accept it? Yes. The problem with going backwards now is that you gave away all of your exclusives. So you cannot all of a sudden go, oh yeah, we're no longer bringing that to PlayStation or bringing that to PlayStation. You already brought everything. So you literally might as well just, if Game Pass goes away, you might as well just kill the console and tell me you're a third party publisher.
If Game Pass went away, the next step would be, hey, we're bringing all those things back to exclusive Xboxes or Xbox control. But like, the problem is, who cares? Or like, the damage has been done to so many of those franchises that it's like, oh, I mean, they haven't announced Halo is going to be multi-platform or anything, but if somehow Halo ended up on PS5 and then like for the PS6 and whatever Xbox new console, they're like, nope, it's going to be back to Xbox. But like, yeah, right, I'm good. Or like, they haven't been good shepherds with their franchises, so that's like the other issue.
Yeah, I just think that Game Pass is their exclusive. So if you destroy Game Pass, especially if you destroy it before you get to the new consoles, you may as well just don't even bother putting out a console, right? Because you have no reason at all for someone to subscribe to for somebody to buy your console outside of just, oh, I want the one that says Xbox on it.
Yeah.
But there's nothing in that ecosystem that goes, okay, here's the reason why I need to buy this Xbox. And
right.
And that's the point, is like, now they have to hold on to Game Pass for dear life because it's the only thing that is a driver for this entire marketing thing that they're doing of everything's on Xbox, right? Like, the only thing that helps you if you have either an Xbox console or PC Game Pass or whatever is Game Pass. So if you buy it on PlayStation or Nintendo, you can play the game, but you're not gonna have Game Pass. So now they could, but again, it's like, if everybody already has all of your stuff, you're just essentially selling a console where you get to say, well, this is where it came from, but there's nothing like great in order to have it. So it's just like, they're really in this catch-22 where I hope for them this year hits all the games so that they can justify why Game Pass needs to be around and all this stuff or whatever. And just for these studios also, because they need wins. But
it's a bit like, I mean, it's almost kind of like the PS2, GameCube, Xbox, battle back in the day. Like,
yeah,
PS2 obviously had the largest amount of like interesting or good like quality games.
right.
Xbox had a clear power differential if developers like made it that way or programmed it. But outside of Nintendo shit, like the GameCube is like terrible. It's like, well, it can more or less handle the PS2, like, but it can't reach the Xbox, and a lot of these games like kind of worse. So it's like, Yeah, if you don't have Luigi's Mansion and Animal Crossing propping this thing up, why do you have a GameCube at all?
Right. But that's when Nintendo was able to deviate and go, okay, we're not going to care about graphics anymore. We're going to care about innovation and being different.
Right. And
Right.
hey, that worked out for them the next year or next console.
Exactly.
So
It did. But this is sort of Microsoft's way of being different, of just like, okay, we're going to put our games on everything and hope to God that everybody wants to go this way.
right.
And, and it is welcoming, it is accepting, it's nice in a way that they're doing that. But it's still kind of like, if there's ever an opportunity where Sony is not putting out banger after banger after banger, and Nintendo's kind of in this waiting period of we don't know when the Switch 2 is going to come out, this is the year where you can gain some kind of traction.
Yeah.
Microsoft really needs to hit this. And I really do think that they also need to like put Halo, put Gears, put something on the launch of the Switch 2 so that we know your games are out there, and then hey, that's going to sell more for you on the Switch as well. Make the Switch a console that people want to go play your Microsoft games on, or whatever, even if they're the older ones. But
Right.
I think it's out there for them to be able to grab. Will they ever not be in third place? I just think that's really hard at this point with the way Sony and Nintendo were dominant, and the Switch 2 looks to keep things the same thing for them. But they can keep themselves viable, and that's the important part. Like survive till the next time, and that's what they got to do.
Yeah, and then that's another roll of the dice.
Yeah, and exactly another roll of dice. Will we get to another year where, oh man, could Sony like lessen? That was another thing I was going to bring up too. I forgot what the Sony thing is. There was a lot of people talking about now. Oh well, this means Sony's really gonna shorten that gap with the PC. They're gonna start releasing even their single player games day and date to recoup some of that money. Something that Microsoft already does. You think Sony could do that as a way to like, well, we got to get some of the money back from these studios that all the time and investment that got wasted at putting like, let's not maybe not Ghost of Yote perhaps, but let's say even what if Ghost of Yote comes out like 3 months after the game comes out instead of 2 years? Could you see that happening?
No, I still think it'll be like their usual cycle, just because they want it to be that way, and I think it's like they want their console owners to feel, if not special, at least validated for buying the console in the first place.
Right, exactly. That's part of it. And also they wanted the double dip, right? Of the later you get to make the big announcement of, oh, it's coming to PC.
Right.
Buy it here, even though it didn't. As long as they keep having that PSN thing where you have to log into PSN, that seems to not be as great as they want it to be. But
people are like so butthurt about that. It's like, who cares? Like, unless it's like you're specifically in the regions like that PSN isn't in there. Like, how many people is that really? Does that
but technology is so good that they should be able to have a thing that identifies whether you're in one of those regions or not.
I think Steam does that though. They say specifically, like when you go to buy it, it might say like, "Hey, you're in a region that this doesn't support," or like.
Yeah.
But even if that's not the case, like even if you're like from the USA buying this thing, and people are all outraged about signing to PSN, it's like, don't you remember Games for Windows Live? That sucked. I mean, that sucked worse.
Yes, it did.
This thing works, and you don't have to like patch the game through unstable servers to get fucking Viva Pinata working. Like,
Right.
it's just an overlay, or it's just one more thing you got to sign in through, and it's not like some separate storefront either. Like you sign in through it once and that's it.
I feel like at some point they might as well just get their own launcher.
No, I don't want that at all.
Well, I know, but it's just like if you're gonna really go down this road, like just get your own launcher and avoid the PSN thing, and that way maybe you don't get as many people getting upset. But I don't know. It's one way to, but I guess then you're gonna get upset because even if you're playing it through Steam, you have to use the launcher. So.
Yeah.
But moving on to what I alluded to earlier, a big story that came out today is according to Matthew Ball of Epilon, who's an analyst, I don't know where he's getting this information. I don't know what industry people he's talking to. He doesn't really say. He just says that according to the report and people that he's talked to in the industry, there is hope within the video game industry that the publisher Take-Two will use the unprecedented excitement around GTA 6 in order to bump up the default price of the game to $100.
Yeah, that's how that dumbass thing you said.
And, this also leads to him talking about, well, this could just lead to the game costing $80, anywhere from $80 to $100, and then would allow third-party publishers to feel that they can now raise the price of their games to at least $80 or more. We've heard Capcom talk about games aren't expensive enough. We've heard other developers talk about how games should be more expensive, that, not just inflation, but the game development costs so much more now that, we're lucky that we're even paying $70. But this would be the second rise in price in the same generation, which we haven't really seen before.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a no-brainer that Grand Theft Auto 6 will cost more than $70. The thing is, will that actually happen to the point where people will make their other publishers make their games also $80?
Well, here's the thing. I think like base GTA 6 will still be $70, but they'll sell like 800 different versions where it's like, oh, if you buy the $10 extra one, you get $500,000 in cash in GTA Online, or if you buy the digital deluxe version for $100, then you get like additional character skins or a new house or whatever. I think still base game will be $70. I think like they could try to get away with it being 80, and that one game might be able to pull it off, but that's it. Like everything else is if they tried to make Madden be $80 or Call of Duty be $80, but like no, because they're too annualized.
I feel like that's where you are wrong, because that's all it takes is Grand Theft Auto will be the springboard. I do think that they're going to take advantage of that to make Grand Theft Auto 6 base $80. I don't think $100. I just don't think $100 they're going to do it. I think $100 is too much.
I hated the way this guy phrased this. It was like, oh, game publishers are hoping this will happen. It's like,
I wouldn't be surprised if they are.
No, they are, but game developers aren't, because they're not going to get the money from it.
Well, no, game developers are not, but game publishers definitely are, because they want to be able to charge more for their games. They definitely want to be able to charge more than $70. I'll tell you that right now. If somebody told them they can charge $80, they will.
But like the money, it's like, well, they can get it. I mean, they want it obviously, but it's not going to go back to the people who made the game, or it's not going to flow back.
But it does help the overall industry if more people are spending more money per game that they buy and all that stuff, which that's the point, right? My issue with it is
because like you already said that games went from $60 to $70 this generation, and hey, in the past 2 years, what have we had? Record-breaking game layoff, job layoffs in the game industry.
Right,
so
but
that clearly doesn't happen.
No, okay, but here's my point, in that if we're gonna say that Grand Theft Auto, Madden, NBA 2K, Call of Duty, all these big games, which people will pay the extra $10 to play because it's the only games they buy, so spending $10 more is not going to be a big deal to them. And that's all it takes. Then all of a sudden you'll get Capcom going, maybe we'll make Resident Evil 9 $80. Now they're also the ones that talk out of both sides of their mouth, where they'll complain that $70 is not enough, and then they charge $60 for the latest game that they just released. So that's their problem. But like, I don't think they would do it with Monster Hunter either. I think they would definitely charge the $70 and that's it. But it will give, if enough games do it, it will give the next time we go around, they may think about it, right? Because the more it becomes commonplace and the more you're spending $80 every time on those games, that's more revenue for those publishers. Again, doesn't go back to developers, it goes back to those publishers, and that increases the health of the industry, along with Switch 2 coming out and providing a big boom of people buying systems and games and whatever. That's the whole point of what he's trying to say. My issue with it is this is going to go counter to what we need, which is we don't need more revenue coming in like that. What we need is for publishers to understand that you have to lower the budgets of games and you have to lower the size of the studio, and which unfortunately increases layoffs. But you need that. You don't need to then have an excuse to make bigger budgets because you're making more money every time you make a game come out. So I hate the phrasing that he uses too. He's not wrong in the just base sense of what he's saying, but I would hate to see it happen because that just gives the big publishers more incentive to, oh, well, we can keep the prices, the budget's the same because now we're making $80 every time somebody buys a game, and then if you nickel and dime with the special editions and all that, that's $100, $110. So
right,
just I hate to see the industry get worse before it gets better is what I don't want to see, which that's what will happen. You have a lot more games costing $80, worse industry than what it was, where people have to understand control and understand budgets. And I think even,
Let me ask you this. I mean, because I know you really liked it. If Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is like 20% less of a game, like if they cut out the Gungaga region, would you have like complained, or would you have like felt like you didn't get your money's worth?
no, because you're going to tell me that they just moved it over to part 3, right? Although Gungaga,
No, I'm saying like if they just like cut it out completely. If they're just like, nope, we're only going to make 4 regions, not 5. Here it is. That's it.
I wouldn't have gotten upset because
I'm not talking like about the story itself. I'm just talking about like the actual
as long as the story stuff that was in that region, which was awesome, is not being cut out.
Yeah.
Then I'm fine with it. If you're telling me they cut that entire arc out of the story because now that whole part of Rebirth is not there, then yes, I would have been upset because that was one of the best parts of the entire game. Was the story part, not the searching around Gungaga part. But so yeah, I would have been upset. Like, and I understand that, but I think we're already getting to the part where people are getting like the open world fatigue.
Right.
So,
I mean, that's like a big problem with Star Wars Outlaws is like they got this big ass world, or they got like 4 or 5 planets, and there's not shit to do in most of them, or it's just very, hey, this looks nice, I guess, but there's not a lot of content here because they can't. If they wanted to fill each planet with content, it would have been 8 times more expensive and wouldn't have sold. Would have sold 10 more copies. Who cares? Or like Spider-Man 2 is like another good example. Like they're gonna cut the game world down to like 20%, 15-20%, and it wouldn't have mattered really.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, it's still fine, but yeah, it's like the problem of ballooning budgets, and they just can't say no, or they just.
And then it's also gonna make people make game. There's already complaints about there's too many games, not enough people to go around and buy them. Right. So you make games more expensive. It's not. So I heard this idea today of like, oh, people are just entitled to feeling like you need to be able to buy every game. That's not true because games, except Nintendo, games go on sale. So it doesn't matter. They're going to go on sale whether they're 80, 90, 100, whatever. They're going to go on sale, and then people are still going to buy them on sale because they don't magically have $20 more to buy all these games. So that's the point. If nobody is buying the game, guess what? They're not going to make the game. So you can complain about, the entitlement of, the game should cost more because it's been, all that time and blah, blah, blah. listen, if nobody's buying the game because the game costs $100, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's the point, is that like if every big third party game that comes out now is 80 instead of 70 or 90 instead of 70 or whatever the price, that means less people are going to buy that game. Except for Grand Theft Auto 6, because it is such a seminal, once in a lifetime, once in a generation game, people will buy it.
Well,
it is worth that.
Until the next generation when they put it out again.
Well, yeah, but you know what I mean. Like, it's not going to come out. It's not all of a sudden we're going to have a Grand Theft Auto 7 all of a sudden, right? Even Madden, Call of Duty, all that stuff, because those people that buy those games, that's the only games they play. They will pay that. But then that goes down to the first Berzerker Khazans and even Assassin's Creed Shadows and the Altair Yumias and all the other games that are not the absolute huge games. Those get affected every time you increase the price. So that's why you can't across the board do that, because people will not buy your game. You know, Monster Hunter aside, but it could affect, you know, say how many people buy Resident Evil at launch, Resident Evil 9 at launch, or whatever. It's something that's not helpful in an industry sense, because you're just going to get less games being bought and more of the big franchises, and it's going to affect, again, the smaller games, all that stuff that gets made. So I hope we don't see it. I'm worried that we are, because I just feel like Rockstar's waiting. Rockstar is waiting to drop that price with the release date and go, yep, the base game is $80. Deal with it. You love Grand Theft Auto 6, you will buy it. We know you will, and that's it. You know. But moving on from that to, I don't really even know what we have left to talk about here, but I know it's not as big as that. Also, I forgot to mention Microsoft also made some more layoffs.
Of course they did.
They laid off, I think it's like 1% of its employees, but part of it is in the gaming division. And also part of it is in, I think that's security and sales and stuff like that. So again, sucks for those people. Hate seeing it. I hope these people find jobs quickly, whoever were affected. The Guillemot family and Tencent, apparently the latest with this is also from Bloomberg, is that they may basically take assets, the big assets from Ubisoft, or small, I don't know what size assets, but the important assets from Ubisoft, and then spin that off into a new company to basically get the stench of Ubisoft off them. I feel like that's good in one way, as far as like, okay, we're no longer called Ubisoft, but we're still making Assassin's Creed, Rayman, and whatever other IP you decide is worth making the transition.
This is like,
yeah,
this is exactly how much of The Wire have you seen?
Yeah, no, I've watched the whole thing.
Yeah, this is exactly what happened when Stringer Bell was talking to his like economics professor about like changing the name of the product, but still having the same shit product. Like,
yeah,
it's like, okay, theoretically maybe it could work, but like the same people are still in charge of fucking the company up. So why would this, you know, if he was like, oh, we're making Ubisoft 2, or making some other French name or whatever, and hey, Assassin's Creed is here and Splinter Cell's here, even though we won't make another one, and we're still making Beyond Good and Evil 2, and it'll only take 30 more years, and you know, but it's like, okay, but you're still in charge, and you're the ones who wrecked Ubisoft in the first place. So why would you trust you at all?
We wouldn't. That's to me, that's the point. Is like, this doesn't make any sense, other than also, this is the only way the Guillemot family will accept Tencent taking them over. Is it's not called Ubisoft, so therefore they feel like there's no legacy attached to it. And
I don't think like the other shareholders would okay this either. It's not even going to go, oh, we're going to sell off our main franchise to this family who fucked up the company. because we get to keep our Ubisoft stock that's in the
Yeah.
toilet right now. Like, I'm gonna vote no on that. I'm just gonna vote them out instead, or like.
I don't understand. Like, if I'm Tencent, why would I allow the Guillemot family to be involved in this at all?
Right.
You are the people that have screwed up this company. Why do you get to continue to own it and continue to screw it up more, just with different people putting money into it? Like,
And they can. How about they can own the not the Rayman franchise, but the Raving Rabbids franchise and everything else.
It's like, if I'm gonna take this over, that means you're owning a lesser stake to the point where you cannot tell me what to do.
Yeah.
And you're essentially just there for the ride, getting money because you used to own it, and you're allowing us, Tencent, to do what we want to do.
Right.
With your IP and with the whatever IPs we decide are still going to be around. And just let it still be Ubisoft. Because to me, if you're just changing the name, like you said, and you're just continuing to keep everything the same, it's not really going to change anything other than, okay. And then also, how does that make the people the developers and the people working in your company feel that you couldn't even stick around on the ship long enough to try to write it or whatever? You just decided to get off and go lay off everybody else behind it or whatever, and it's like that. It's just, to me, it's just a bad decision. Like, I feel like whenever Tencent wants to, they're going to pull the trigger, and this is going to be an end of discussion. I feel like they're just kind of waiting around, and they're waiting to see what Assassin's Creed Shadows does. And then that will be the final nail that just says, okay, Guillemot family, we gave you the chance. This is it.
Right.
There's nothing else here. Like, what else? What other rabbit are you going to pull out of the hat that's going to be able to generate buzz and whatever that's going to get people to want to buy your game? Right now, a Ubisoft game comes out, it's like, oh, another one of those.
Yeah, it's like anti-enthusiasm.
Exactly. It's like, I am not enthused about this at all. It's like Assassin's Creed has Assassin's Creed energy, and I mean, you're gonna play it or whatever. There's people that are excited about it. These people that have already played it. It seems like it's gonna be a good game, but it's like, is this gonna move the needle for you guys at all? Like, is this gonna move the millions and millions of units that you need to justify continuing to make other things? More Assassin's Creed games? Probably not.
Again, it's like I said, it's always the same thing about giving people want what they want, and you're supposed to deliver what they want. And the fact that you're like going to go like, no, we know what you want, or we know better, and instead we deliver like a somewhat mediocre Star Wars game with an unlikable main character, or like I don't know. People seem to like that Prince of Persia Metroidvania thing. I think they're crazy, but like, it didn't sell well, and like their other crap last year didn't sell particularly well either.
They came out with 2 NFT games, Mark. 2.
Yeah, and X Defiant. It's like, okay, great. Meanwhile, like I said in the past, like, people have been begging for more Splinter Cell for the past decade, and we get X Defiant, a canceled Division free-to-play thing, and that's it.
Division free-to-play thing canceled also.
Well, that's it. I mean, Heartland,
It's like, okay, we got Six Siege, we got your other live service stuff that's still hanging around, and then Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
And whenever it is that they better come out with that Splinter Cell game, because they need something that's not Assassin's Creed. Something that's not that. Like, you literally cannot just be Assassin's Creed.
It'll be like Tom Clancy's Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, but it's like, okay, they've basically run Far Cry down.
Yeah.
To the point where nobody cares about that. Ghost Recon is also in the crapper.
Yeah, you can't make Watch Dogs anymore.
Watch Dogs
is terrible.
they've done okay. Like those movie games have been okay. It's just they're just okay. That's the problem.
Yeah,
Like,
like that Avatar thing. Like, I know Kyle liked it, and I've heard
yeah,
it's like okay, but like, yeah,
exactly.
fine, I guess, but it's
And
not
then
not
Skull and Bones was terrible. It's like
right.
so, and
The
what
fact that like
literally all they have right now is Assassin's Creed Shadows. That's it.
the fact that there was like a giant bomb community vote on like which is the biggest Ubisoft disaster this year, and there was like eight different things for it.
Yeah,
It's like wow, okay, like
it's like basically we're just literally Ubisoft living in perpetual hell the entire 2024, and then 2025 has not started out better because they've delayed Assassin's Creed again, which is probably better for them. March 20th is a much better date than February, but still,
right,
it's like it feels like we're just delaying the inevitable until we get to okay, Assassin's Creed Shadows is just fine, and then what? You know, it's like, oh, okay, maybe that Rayman remake is going to be
oh,
good. You know,
I looked it up, yeah, since you just mentioned it. We talked about last week about the Tokyo tragedy. Uh, this happened in 1995, the sarin gas attack in the subway.
yeah,
that was the 20th, and it's like, yeah, may want to delay this one day.
Yeah.
If you can.
I don't know. So nobody thought about
E-
that.
e- Either delay it or move it up a day. Like I don't think a day
It's
is gonna matter either way, but
exactly. It's not.
you may not want to do this specific day.
But you know, it's Ubisoft. They
Yeah,
don't always think about these things. But look, this is going to keep being a thing until I feel like Tencent just says, "Okay, we're buying it,"
right,
and that's it. And we're just going to keep living in this perpetual thing where we just talk about Ubisoft um, in this way, and that's it. So, speaking of another company that went through layoffs, Godfall's developer um, also suffered layoffs. Counterplay Games. Um, they've been working with NetEase at Jackalyptic Games on a game,
yeah,
and it seems like that wasn't going too well. So they have had to cut staff. Again, just this has been a continuing thing for the past like 2 years, and sucks to see
yep,
them doing this. Godfall wasn't that great either. Launch
right,
game for the PS5. We know where that went. So let's get on with the actual games we've been playing here. You can't talk about one of them.
right.
Um,
I'll talk about that next week.
is there any that you can talk
Yeah,
about?
Marvel Heroes,
All right.
a
How was that?
damn near 10 year. No, it's a 11-year-old action RPG that
Yeah.
uh people have got working again on PC. Like, you have to download like this like surprisingly not bootsy ass server emulator. Uh, and yeah, you just like run the server emulator, and, like run the game, and it works. Uh, it ain't 100% working correctly, but it works well enough. Like when I played it, like I was Cyclops, and like I was facing I think this living laser boss guy, and like
Mhm.
half the hits I would land on him wouldn't actually like connect, or like it wouldn't register damage. But I eventually got him down, and I still like that game a whole lot. It for like a Diablo clone, it holds up, and there's a whole ton of content in there,
Hey,
and I
that's
still miss it.
doing as well. Probably doing as well as Diablo's
Right.
at this
Uh,
at this point.
and it's funny because you can like run a server yourself, like basically like a single player server, but there actually is like an online server that people are like running, like because that was kind of like a live service game also back in the day. Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah, you can like join it and play with other people if you want.
Hey, that's great.
Yep. What about you? Between your coughing.
Yeah. So I've been trying out a few games here. If you're not familiar with the Crypt of the Necrodancer series, they have a game that's actually coming out in a couple of weeks that they announced. I don't remember exactly when, but it was like it's like the next. It's funny because it feels like this game should have evolved from like the series should have evolved from Rift of the Necrodancer instead of the other way around. But Crypt of the Necrodancer has become Rift of the Necrodancer, which is essentially like them taking Crypt of the Necrodancer's game and turning it into like, what if we became Guitar Hero?
Right.
And you play it. You can play with a controller, but you can also play it on keyboard. It's going to come out first on PC on February 5th, and then it's going to come later to Switch, and then I'm assuming to the other consoles. So there's a demo out there on Steam you can play. It's pretty fun. You just use the 3 D-pad, the left, up, and right, and that's your whole playing field. And then you're basically just, matching the beats like you would in the Crypt of the Necrodancer, but like kind of like Guitar Hero style, where you're matching it at the bottom, the field. So that brought back vibes for me as far as playing Rock Band, Guitar Hero, whatever, because I've the dongle broke for me. So I cannot play rock. Yeah, I cannot play Rock Band at all. I'd have to go buy one of those new controllers.
That's a bummer because that's like the expensive part too. So
and basically you cannot buy it unless you buy it on eBay, which sucks.
$200. Yeah.
Well, I don't have the drums anymore, so essentially we just need to play the guitars. So that's how it's like if I really wanted to, I could buy one of the new guitars, the one that new one that they came out with. But it's just like
work natively with Fortnite or like the Rock Band thing and that.
That's what's funny too. It's like that still doesn't really work with that either. But this game is actually like really good. So as you're playing as Cadence, the same cadence as the Cadence of Hyrule one, or the other games, but it has this in it. And it has bosses and stuff like that too, which you're kind of seeing on the screen if you're watching on YouTube. It can get pretty hard, the way that they have the different characters show up on the screen and move around and stuff. So it took me a bit to get good at it, but it looks like it's going to be short and fun, and I'm looking forward to hopefully maybe reviewing it when it comes out here in a couple weeks. Another game that's coming out March 27th also got a demo the same day as the Switch reveal, which is First Berzerker Khazan. This is a Souls-like, so if you're into those,
up your alley.
Well, this one's actually like, working for me so far. I got all the way up to the first boss and like got to like I got him to like 3/4 health, and then he killed me the last time, and I was just like, okay, I'm kind of done here. But I've actually like really been enjoying it. It's it has like this cells. If you haven't seen the trailer, I think they showed at the VGAs or whatever, it has like this kind of cool like cel shaded-y look. So it looks like it could be from an anime, but then also it's like not totally photorealistic either. But it looks good when it's running, like because you're seeing the back of Khazan the whole time while you're running. And it has all of the typical Souls-like trinkets. You can always save at the one thing that's there, and then if you die, you have to go through the entire set of enemies again until you get to the part where you were. You have to get your little soul back or whatever when you before you can get all of your upgrades and all that you had. But I like his skill set. It's very simple. It's just the axe and the sword, and then you can also have the different strikes and stuff. And I like that. So far, it's just the one setting where he's in a like snow-ish level, and he's in the inside of it. Then you go outside, you see the snow, stuff like that. So it seems that the demo is pretty lengthy. Is very gory, as you see in the little trailer there. And yeah, it's fun. I even have like there's these like soldiers that you fight at the beginning, and then eventually you get to like these bigger like monsters. And I actually got the soldier to fight with me. Like I didn't kill the soldier, and the soldier started killing the big monster for me, which was weird. But
Right.
it's good because it let me get to where you actually get to the boss, which is like this big Yeti looking thing. So yeah, I mean I would tell y'all to check it out. It's if you like Souls like this is right up the like more of a gory Souls like of those. So I would check it
Yeah.
out for sure. If you like those. And Dynasty Warriors Origins also pretty good. I've been playing the demo for that too. If
Yo, you Lubu?
yeah, I did not beat Lubu. He's pretty tough, but the game is actually pretty good. Like I don't know that I would go buy it right now. But maybe on a sale or something. Definitely think about it. So the critics are loving it too. It has some pretty good scores. So if you're a Dynasty Warriors fan and been waiting, maybe this is the one to check out for sure. And also been playing Tales of Iron, which is like a indie game that's also a Souls like that is where you play as a rat. It's 2D. But this one actually has the like where it tells you, oh, the red is to dodge, so you know you can dodge out of the way, or the yellow is to like where you have to parry. You can parry out of the way. So far it's been pretty good for me to get through. I've been enjoying it. I like the story with the rat and the guy you control. You're like one of the sons of the king that something happens to him and you have to eventually like take over and just show that you're going to be the next king or whatnot. They have a new second game coming out on the 28th of January also. So I've been playing that to get ready to, I might possibly be reviewing the second game called Whiskers of Winter. So there is some Game of Thrones tinge to this as well. So, but yeah, I've been enjoying playing all those. Definitely a lot to go through. I got that off. I didn't know I had it on PS Plus a couple months ago. I think it showed up on there, and not the one where it's like one of the essential games. I didn't know it was part of that, and I was like, oh, you already own this. And I was like, okay, cool. I did not know that I owned it. So pretty sweet. But yeah, lots have been playing recently here. So
Yeah.
So I wait for my first game of 2025, which is going to be either one of those. And then I think I really don't have like a big game that I'm interested in until Pirate Yakuza.
Right, which is like
But there's
end of February or end of
middle of February. But there's
right.
the Jordan's doing it for Outer Haven, so I'm probably gonna just buy it because I'm sure you will end up getting the code.
If we did,
so
if that happens, I mean, we haven't actually got.
Well, it could always show up on Xbox, and then I'm the one reviewing it because of that. So that's been our luck sometimes. You really want it, and then they're like, "Oh, well, the code we got is Xbox." So
right.
But we'll see. Mark is playing a certain fantasy game that he'll talk about next week. Apparently, the embargo is on the 23rd itself, so we'll see. But all right, let's look at, I guess, the games that are coming for this week here. I already mentioned one of them, but Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, the PC version's coming on the 23rd. Mika and the Witch's Mountain, which looks decent, is coming on the 22nd as well. The Ender Magnolia Bloom in the Mist, that's the sequel to Ender Lilies that you kind of liked.
Didn't like. I didn't like it at all, actually.
So that's coming. Lonely Mountain Snow Riders is apparently a skiing game that's going to come to Game Pass tomorrow, so y'all can check that out if you want. The Jedi Power Battles episode 1 It's coming to everything on the 23rd. You can go play that remaster if you want. Sin Duality Echo of Ada is the next like Bandai Namco thing. That's coming to Series X and PS5 and PC, which is like you play as a like little mech that you go around and kill things, and apparently has survival stuff in it.
Story of my life.
That's worth checking out. And then next week there's lots of games coming, so we'll talk about that when we get to next week. But all right, so some things to look forward to for this week. Until then, we'll see you later, everybody.
Later.
Bye.